Shabbat Shalom. Good morning, YouTube. Today we are again reading out of the Bible. I am using the Scriptures translation. Please feel free to use whatever translation you have, but please read along. Don't take my word for it. So grab your coffee, grab your Bible, and let's read. Today we are starting in Deuteronomy chapter 16. Guard the new moon of Abib and perform the Pesach to Yahweh your Elohim. For in the new moon of Abib, Yahweh your Elohim brought you out of Mitzrayim by night. And you shall slaughter the Pesach to Yahweh your Elohim from the flock and the herd, in the place where Yahweh chooses to put his name. Eat no leavened bread with it. For 7 days you eat unleavened bread with it, bread of affliction, because you came out of the land of Mitzrayim in haste, so that you remember the day in which you came out of the land of Mitzrayim all the days of your life. And no leaven should be seen with you in all your border for 7 days. Neither should any of the meat which you slaughter in the evening on the first day stay all night until morning. You are not allowed to slaughter the Pesach within any of your gates which Yahweh your Elohim gives you, but at the place where Yahweh your Elohim chooses to make his name dwell. There you slaughter the Pesach in the evening at the going down of the sun, at the appointed time you came out of Mitzrayim. And you shall roast and eat it in the place where Yahweh your Elohim chooses, and in the morning you shall turn and go to your tents. 6 days you eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there is a closing festival to Yahweh your Elohim. You do no work. Count 7 weeks for yourself. Begin to count 7 weeks from the time you begin to put the sickle to the grain. And you shall perform the festival of Shavuot to Yahweh your Elohim according to the voluntary offering from your hand, which you give as Yahweh your Elohim blesses you. And you shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim, you and your son and your daughter, and your male servant and your female servant, and the Levite who is within your gates, and the sojourner and the fatherless and the widow who are in your midst, at the place where Yahweh your Elohim chooses to make his name dwell. And you shall remember that you were a slave at Mitzrayim, and you shall guard and do these laws. Perform the festival of Sukkot for 7 days at the ingathering of your threshing floor from your winepress. And you shall rejoice in your festival, you and your son and your daughter, and your male servant and your female servant, and the Levite and the sojourner and the fatherless and the widow who are within your gates. For 7 days you shall celebrate to Yahweh your Elohim in the place which Yahweh chooses, because Yahweh your Elohim does bless you in all your increase and in all the work of your hands, and you shall be only rejoicing. 3 times a year all your males appear before Yahweh your Elohim in the place which he chooses, at the festival of Matzah, at the festival of Shavuot, and at the festival of Sukkot. And none should appear before Yahweh empty-handed, but each one with the gift of his hand according to the blessing of Yahweh your Elohim which he has given you. Appoint judges and officers within all your gates which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you, according to your tribes, and they shall judge the people with righteous right ruling. Do not distort right ruling. Do not show partiality, nor take a bribe, for a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and twists the words of the righteous. Follow righteousness, righteousness alone, so that you live and inherit the land which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you. Do not plant for yourself any tree as in Asherah near the slaughter place of Yahweh, your Elohim, that you make for yourself. And do not set up a pillar which Yahweh your Elohim hates. So there's a quick review on appointed times, festivals. We just had Shavuot here, and that is the end of the spring festivals, so there isn't another one until fall, usually September. Chapter 17. Do not slaughter to Yahweh your Elohim a bull or sheep which has any blemish, any evil matter, for that is an abomination to Yahweh your Elohim. When there is found in your midst, in any of your cities which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you, a man or a woman who does what is evil in the eyes of Yahweh your Elohim, in transgressing his covenant, and has gone and served other mighty ones and bowed down to them, or to the sun, or to the moon, or to any of the host of the heavens, which I have not commanded, and it has been made known to you, and you have heard, and have searched diligently, then see if true, the matter is confirmed that such an abomination has been done in Israel, then you shall bring out to your gates that man or woman who has done this evil matter, and you shall stone to death that man or woman with stones. At the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall he that is to die be put to death. He is not put to death by the mouth of 1 witness. The hand of the witnesses shall be first against him to put him to death, and the hand of all the people last. So you shall purge the evil from your midst. When any matter arises which is too hard for you to judge between blood and blood, between plea and plea, or between stroke and stroke, matters of strife within your gates, then you shall rise up and go up to the place which Yahweh your Elohim chooses, and shall come to the priests, the Levites, and to the judge who is in those days, and shall inquire. And they shall declare to you the word of right ruling, and you shall do according to the word which they declare to you from that place which Yahweh chooses. And you shall guard to do according to all that they instruct you. Do according to the Torah in which they teach you, according to the right ruling which they say to you. You do not turn to the right or to the left from the word which they declare to you. And the man who acts arrogantly, so as not to listen to the priest who stands to serve there before Yahweh your Elohim, or to the judge, that man shall die. So you shall purge the evil from Israel, and let all the people hear and fear, and no longer do arrogantly. When you come to the land which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you, and shall possess it, and shall dwell in it, and you shall say, let me set a sovereign over me, like all the other nations that are around me, you shall certainly set a sovereign over you, whom Yahweh your Elohim shall choose. Set a sovereign over you from among your brothers. You are not allowed to set a foreigner over you, who is not your brother. Only he is not to increase horses for himself, nor cause the people to return to Mitzrayim to increase horses. For Yahweh has said to you, do not return that way again. And he is not to increase wives for himself, lest his heart turn away, nor is he to greatly increase silver and gold for himself. And it shall be, when he sits on the throne of his reign, that he shall write for himself a copy of this Torah in a book, from the one before the priests, the Levites. And it shall be with him, and he shall read it all the days of his life, so that he learns to fear Yahweh his Elohim, and guard all the words of this Torah and these laws to do them, so that his heart is not lifted up above his brothers, and so as not to turn aside from the command, right or left, so that he prolongs his days in his reign, he and his children, in the midst of Israel. So, some more retelling of the laws and how they're supposed to act, and also a little preview of what's to come, because eventually they are going to demand a sovereign or king above them. Chapter 18. The priests, the Levites, all the tribe of Levi, have no part nor inheritance with Israel. They are to eat the offerings of Yahweh made by fire and his inheritance. But among his brothers, Levi has no inheritance. Yahweh is his inheritance, as he has spoken to him. And this is the priest's right from the people. From those who slaughter a slaughtering, whether it is bull or sheep, they shall give to the priest the shoulder and the 2 cheeks and the stomach. The first fruits of your grain and your new wine and your oil, and the first of the fleece of your sheep you give to him. For Yahweh your Elohim has chosen him out of all your tribes to stand to serve in the name of Yahweh, him and his sons forever. And when Levites come from one of your gates, from where he has sojourned among all Israel, and shall come with all the desire of his being to the place which Yahweh chooses, then he shall serve the name of Yahweh his Elohim, like all his brothers the Levites who are standing there before Yahweh. They are to have portion for portion to eat, besides what comes from the sale of his inheritance. When you come into the land which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you, do not learn to do according to the abominations of those nations. Let no one be found among you who makes his son or his daughter pass through the fire, or who practices divination, or a user of magic, or one who interprets omens, or a sorcerer, or one who conjures spells, or a medium, or a spiritist, or one who calls up the dead. For whoever does these is an abomination to Yahweh, and because of these abominations, Yahweh your Elohim drives them out from before you. Be perfect before Yahweh your Elohim, for these nations whom you are possessing do listen to those using magic and to diviners. But as for you, Yahweh your Elohim has not appointed such for you. Yahweh your Elohim shall rise up for you a prophet like me from your midst, from your brothers. Listen to him. According to all you asked of Yahweh your Elohim in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, Let me not hear again the voice of Yahweh my Elohim, nor let me see this great fire any more, lest I die. And Yahweh said to me, What they have spoken is good. I shall raise up for them a prophet like you out of the midst of their brothers, and I shall put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them all that I command him. And it shall be, the man who does not listen to my words, which he speaks in my name, I require it of him. But the prophet who presumes to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or who speaks in the name of other mighty ones, even that prophet shall die. And when you say in your heart, How do we know the word which Yahweh has not spoken? When the prophet speaks in the name of Yahweh, and the word is not, or comes not, that is the word which Yahweh has not spoken. The prophet has spoken it presumptuously. Do not be afraid of him. So, a while back, the Israelites, they're like, we don't want to talk to God directly again. We'll leave that to you, Moses. But obviously, Moses doesn't live forever. So they will need someone else to be that go-between. And so he says there, I will raise up a prophet from among you. And obviously it's going to be different, different people from different families. And how are we going to know that he speaks your word? Well, if what he says doesn't come true, then he wasn't the prophet. Well, that is the end of the reading for today. Thanks for coming along with me. I hope you join us again next Saturday. May the Father bless you. Shalom.